gunfire shattered the financial tower's basement silence like thunder-splitting glass. Ethan Carter, 36 years old, with calloused hands gripping his janitor's mop, dropped everything and dove toward the platinum-haired woman cowering near the service elevator. 3 shots ricocheted off concrete as he pulled her behind a massive support pillar, his broad shoulders shielding her trembling frame. She smelled of rain and desperation, her designer clothes torn to rags. He pressed a finger to his lips, his wedding ring catching fluorescent light, not knowing this homeless stranger was actually the daughter of the man whose name gleamed on the building above them. Don't look away now. What happens next will shatter everything you believe about power, sacrifice, and the courage of ordinary people who dare to stand against corruption. Rain hammered the coastal city like accusations from heaven, each drop a reminder that some storms come from within rather than above. Ethan Carter stood in the doorway of his cramped 2-bedroom apartment, watching his 7-year-old daughter Lily arrange puzzle pieces on their scratched coffee table. Her long brown hair fell across her face as she concentrated, the same expression her mother had worn when solving problems that seemed impossible. 3 years had passed since cancer stole Sarah away, leaving Ethan to raise their brilliant daughter on a janitor's salary that barely covered rent in the shadow of Sterling Corporation's gleaming towers. He was handsome in the way working men often are tall and muscular from years of physical labor, with rough hands that could fix anything broken except the hole in his family's heart. His janitor uniform hung on a hook by the door, the name patch reading E. Carter in faded thread. Once, he'd studied engineering at the State University, dreams of building bridges dancing in his young mind. But life had other plans. Sarah's medical bills had devoured their savings, forced him to drop out, take any job that offered health insurance. Now he cleaned the offices of men who'd never notice him, invisible in his fluorescent vest, carrying keys that opened every door in the Sterling building except the ones that mattered. Lily looked up from her puzzle, her bright eyes reflecting the lightning that split the sky outside. "Dad, why do some people have so much while others have nothing?" The question hung between them, like the storm clouds gathering over the harbor. Ethan crossed the room and knelt beside his daughter, his large hand gentle on her small shoulder. "Sometimes the world isn't fair, sweetheart. But that doesn't mean we stop trying to make it better. Like Mom used to say, we choose our family by who we protect?" Exactly like that. The Sterling Corporation dominated the city's skyline like a glass and steel mountain, its CEO's name synonymous with power. Richard Sterling had built an empire on shipping and logistics, his influence reaching into every corner of municipal government. But power breeds secrets, and secrets demand payment in blood or silence. 3 blocks from Ethan's apartment, in an alley that reeked of rotting garbage and broken dreams, Olivia Sterling pressed herself against a dumpster and tried to disappear. At 34, she should have been attending charity galas in designer gowns, not hiding in shadows wearing torn jeans and a hoodie that had seen better decades. Her platinum blonde hair, usually styled to perfection, hung in wet tangles around a face that remained beautiful despite exhaustion etching lines around her green eyes. She clutched a waterproof bag against her chest, its contents worth more than money evidence that could topple an empire built on lies. 3 weeks ago, she'd been her father's humanitarian ambassador, the public face of Sterling Corporation's charitable foundation. Then she'd stumbled upon encrypted files while preparing for an audit presentation. Wire transfers to offshore accounts. Bribes to city councilmen. Money laundered through the very charity she represented. The COO's signature on every document. When she'd tried to tell her father, she'd found his office door locked, his phone disconnected. A message had appeared on her laptop. "Some stones are better left unturned. Your silence buys your safety." She'd grabbed the hard drive, destroyed her phone, and vanished into the city's invisible population. The homeless. The forgotten. The ones nobody looked at twice. Now hunters prowled the streets with her photograph, men in expensive suits who smiled at security cameras while carrying guns with filed-off serial numbers. She'd been running for 72 hours straight, and her body was failing. The rain plastered her clothes to her skin, and she shivered not from cold but from knowing that tomorrow she might not see the sunrise. A black sedan prowled past the alley entrance, its tinted windows reflecting the neon signs of check-cashing stores and pawn shops. Olivia held her breath, counting seconds until it passed. Then she heard footsteps, expensive shoes on wet pavement, getting closer. Back in his apartment, Ethan tucked Lily into bed, her stuffed rabbit clutched against her chest. "Tell me about Mom again," she whispered. "She was brave," Ethan said, smoothing her blanket. "The bravest person I ever knew. When everyone else ran from trouble, she ran toward it. To help people? Always to help people. I want to be like her." "You already are, baby. You already are." His phone buzzed on the nightstand, a text from his supervisor at Sterling Corporation. Emergency cleanup needed. Basement level. Triple overtime pay. Ethan sighed. Mrs. Chen next door would watch Lily for a few hours. They needed the money. The rent was due in 3 days. 20 minutes later, he pushed his maintenance cart through the Sterling building's service entrance, the wheels squeaking against polished marble. The basement stretched before him like a concrete cavern, filled with heating units, electrical panels, and the building's mechanical heart. That's when he heard it running footsteps, a woman's panicked breathing, then the sharp crack of gunfire. Every instinct screamed at him to run, to think of Lily, to remember he was just a janitor with no stake in whatever drama the rich were playing out. But Sarah's voice echoed in his memory. We choose our family by who we protect. He dropped his mop and ran toward the sound, not knowing he was about to step into a conspiracy that would either destroy or redeem them all. The citywide blackout struck at 2:43 in the morning, plunging 3 million people into darkness. In the Sterling building's underground parking garage, emergency generators kicked in, casting everything in hellish red light. Olivia Sterling stumbled between concrete pillars, her bare feet bleeding from running across broken glass. Behind her, 2 men in tactical gear swept their flashlights in methodical arcs, hunting. Ethan had been checking electrical panels when the power died. Years of working maintenance had taught him the building's secrets, which circuits controlled what, where the manual overrides hid, how to move through darkness by memory alone. He heard the woman's ragged breathing before he saw her. A shadow among shadows, pressing herself against a Bentley's tire. Please, she gasped when his flashlight found her face. They're going to kill me. He didn't hesitate. Grabbing her wrist, he pulled her into a maintenance alcove, hidden behind a false panel he'd discovered years ago. His fingers found the manual override for the emergency lighting system. With practiced precision, he cross-wired 2 circuits, sending stroboscopic pulses through the garage lights. The hunters cursed, temporarily blinded. Follow me, he whispered. Stay low. They crawled through a ventilation duct that connected to the building's old coal furnace room, abandoned since the 1970s. Olivia's breathing came in painful gasps, and in the dim light filtering through rust holes, he saw blood seeping through her hoodie. You're hurt. Doesn't matter. They can't get what I'm carrying. She pulled the waterproof bag from inside her jacket, and something fell out, a necklace with a pendant that even in near darkness gleamed with the unmistakable fire of real diamonds. Custom made, one of a kind. The kind of jewelry that had names and stories, that appeared in society magazines. You're not homeless, Ethan said. I am now. She winced as he helped her stand. Does it matter? Not to me. But those men hunting you, they're professionals. Military trained from how they moved. How does a janitor know about military tactics? I wasn't always a janitor. He tore strips from his work shirt to bandage her shoulder where a bullet had grazed her. My brother was Army Rangers. Taught me things before Afghanistan took him. Her encrypted phone buzzed somehow, still receiving signals despite having no visible carrier. The screen showed a single message. We have your location. Surrender the evidence or we start with the janitor's family. Ethan's blood turned to ice. My daughter. They know about Lily. I'm so sorry. I never meant. Olivia's voice broke. I'll leave. Draw them away. No. His jaw set with determination that would have looked at home on a soldier or a CEO, but seemed remarkable on a man in a janitor's uniform. They've already connected us. Running now just gets us both killed. We do this together. You don't even know me. I know you're in trouble. I know they're willing to kill for what you're carrying. And I know my daughter would never forgive me if I let them win. He pulled out his phone, showing her the lock screen, a photo of Lily grinning gap-toothed at the camera. Besides, a wise little girl once asked me why some people have so much while others have nothing. Maybe it's time someone answered her. The assassins had found the maintenance alcove, their boots echoing through the abandoned furnace room. Ethan grabbed Olivia's hand and they ran deeper into the building's bowels, into spaces that hadn't seen light since the city was young and coal smoke was progress. The cheap rental block where Ethan lived squatted on the wrong side of the harbor like a brick accusation against the gleaming towers across the water. At 4 in the morning, its hallways were empty, except for the cockroaches and the ghost of better times. Ethan had smuggled Olivia up the back stairs, her blood leaving a trail he'd mopped away with bleach that burned his nostrils. They'd barely gotten inside when Lily appeared in her pajamas, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Dad? Who's the lady? Someone who needs our help, baby. Lily studied Olivia with that intense focus children have when they're processing something important. Then she disappeared into her room and returned with her favorite blanket, the one Sarah had knitted during her chemo treatments. She offered it to Olivia without a word. I can't take this, Olivia whispered, recognizing the kind of treasure it represented. Mom said we share what matters most with family, Lily said simply. And Dad only brings home people who matter. The moment shattered as glass exploded from the living room window. A smoke grenade rolled across the floor, already hissing. Ethan grabbed both Lily and Olivia, pulling them toward the apartment's back exit, but boots were already thundering up those stairs too. The roof, he said, pushing them toward a ladder hidden behind a false ceiling panel he'd installed for emergencies. They climbed as smoke filled the apartment below, Lily's small hands gripping the rungs with determination that would have made her mother proud. On the roof, rain still poured, turning the tar paper surface into a skating rink. The next building was 8 feet away, an impossible jump for a child. But Ethan had prepared for this too. He pulled a rope and plank bridge from a hidden compartment, something he'd built after Sarah's death when paranoia and grief had driven him to prepare for disasters that might never come. Lily first, he said, securing the bridge. His daughter crawled across without hesitation, Olivia following. Just as Ethan started across, a hand grabbed his ankle. He kicked back, heard a grunt, felt the grip loosen. The bridge swayed sickeningly as he scrambled to the other side. They ran across rooftops, jumping between buildings where fire escapes kissed across alleys, following a route Ethan had memorized during countless sleepless nights. Behind them, flashlight beams swept the darkness like searchlights hunting prisoners. In an abandoned water tower 3 blocks away, they finally stopped. Ethan pulled out his phone to call Mrs. Chen, to make sure she was safe. The screen lit up with an app he'd never installed, showing their exact location in real time. They've been tracking us through my phone, he breathed. Without hesitation, he placed the phone on the tower's ledge and smashed it with a brick. The screen died in a shower of sparks. Now we're alone, Olivia said. No, Lily corrected, taking both their hands. Now we're together. In the relative safety of an abandoned church near the docks, its stained glass windows long since stolen for their lead, Olivia finally explained everything. She sat on a moldy pew with Lily curled against her side, the child having decided this stranger was worth protecting. Ethan paced the center aisle, his mind already working through possibilities. Marcus Webb, Olivia said, naming Sterling Corporation's COO. He's been embezzling for 5 years. $40 million routed through our charitable foundation into shell companies. But that's not the worst part. She pulled a tablet from her waterproof bag, its screen showing spreadsheets that mapped corruption like a cancer spreading through the city's body. He's been paying off half the city council. Construction contracts, zoning permits, safety inspections, all bought and paid for. 3 buildings that collapsed last year? They failed inspection, but Webb's bribes made the reports disappear. People died in those collapses, Ethan said quietly. 37 people, including 2 children, Olivia added, her voice breaking. I have their names, their faces. They haunt me. Lily looked up at her father. If she's telling the truth, who will believe her? She's nobody now, just like us. The 7-year-old's words hung in the church's dusty air with the weight of uncomfortable truth. Olivia Sterling had given up her name, her power, her position to carry this evidence. But without those things, who would listen? We make them listen, Ethan said. The powerful only win when the powerless stay silent. He sketched out a plan on the church's dusty floor, using pieces of broken glass to represent the players. Webb needs you dead because you're the only one who knows where the original files are stored. But he also needs to destroy your credibility in case copies surface. He'll paint you as mentally unstable, a drug addict, a disappointment to your father. Already started, Olivia said bitterly. I've seen the news reports. Sterling heiress missing, family fears mental breakdown. Then we need witnesses, lots of them, all at once. Ethan stood, decision made. There's a city council meeting tomorrow night. Open to the public. 300 citizens. Plus news cameras for the public access channel. They'll kill us the moment we show our faces. Not if we're smarter than they expect a janitor and a runaway to be. He smiled, and for the first time since Sarah's death, it reached his eyes. I've cleaned that council chamber every night for 3 years. I know every entrance, every exit, every place a person could hide or run. Webb might own the council, but I own the shadows they never see. What about Lily? Olivia asked, her hand protective on the child's shoulder. I go where Dad goes, Lily said firmly. Mom said we choose our family. I choose both of you. Ethan wanted to argue, to insist his daughter stay safe, but he saw Sarah's determination in Lily's eyes. They were in this together, all of them, bound by something stronger than blood. The choice to stand when kneeling would be easier. Then we'd better get started, he said. We have 18 hours to expose a conspiracy and stay alive doing it. The old train station stood like a skeleton against the dawn sky, its Art Deco bones showing through decades of decay. Ethan had chosen it as their first waypoint because he knew its bones well. He'd explored it as a teenager, back when the future seemed infinite, and Sarah was just a pretty girl in his chemistry class. Now he led Olivia and Lily through its maze of platforms and abandoned ticket booths, using routes he'd mapped in his memory. They'd been moving for 3 hours when the hunters found them again. Ethan heard the dog's first military-trained German shepherds whose barks echoed through the terminal's vast emptiness. He pushed Olivia and Lily into an old luggage cart, its wooden sides thick enough to mask their scent temporarily. "Stay here," he whispered, then disappeared into the shadows. The hunters entered from the main entrance, 5 men with automatic weapons and night vision goggles. They moved in formation, covering each other's angles, professional and lethal. But they'd never hunted a janitor who understood how buildings breathed. Ethan reached the station's old control room, where switches that once directed trains now controlled nothing but memories. Except for the emergency sprinkler system he'd noticed was still connected to the city's water main. He yanked the manual release, and suddenly the station exploded with water. Thousands of gallons poured from pipes that hadn't flowed in 20 years, creating instant waterfalls that destroyed the hunter's night vision and turned the marble floors into ice rinks. In the chaos, he circled back to Olivia and Lily, leading them through a maintenance tunnel that connected to the city's storm drains. They emerged at the ferry docks just as the morning commuter boats were starting their runs. Ethan bought tickets with cash he'd been saving for Lily's birthday. And they joined the crowd of early shift workers heading across the harbor. On the ferry's deck, Olivia leaned against the railing, her platinum hair hidden under a baseball cap Ethan had found. "You could have run," she said. "When the water started, you could have taken Lily and disappeared." "Could have," he agreed. "But Lily asked a question yesterday about why some people have so much while others have nothing. If I ran now, I'd be teaching her that the answer is to accept it." The ferry's horn sounded as they passed Sterling Corporation's waterfront complex. Olivia stared at the building where she'd once had an office with a view of the entire harbor. "I used to think I was helping people. Running the foundation, giving away millions. But it was all just covering up the rot." "You're helping now," Lily said, slipping her small hand into Olivia's. "That's what matters." They disembarked at the industrial district, where shipping containers created a metal maze that stretched for miles. Ethan knew workers here from his brother's old unit men who'd left the military and found work in logistics, moving cargo, asking no questions. One of them, Torres, owed Ethan for fixing his daughter's wheelchair when no one else would help. "Need to disappear for a few hours," Ethan told him. Torres looked at Olivia, recognition flickering in his eyes. Her picture had been all over the news. But he just nodded. "Container 47. It's refrigerated but turned off. No one will check it until tonight's shift." Inside the container, surrounded by boxes of electronics bound for overseas markets, they finally had a moment to breathe. Ethan opened his janitor's toolkit and began pulling out supplies he'd grabbed during their escape: industrial zip ties that could serve as restraints, a circuit tester that could disable electronic locks, cleaning chemicals that could create smokescreens or worse. "You're not just a janitor," Olivia observed. "I am exactly a janitor," he corrected. "But people forget that janitors have to know how everything works to keep it clean. Every wire, every pipe, every door. We're invisible, but we see everything." Lily had found a box of imported cookies and was carefully dividing them into 3 equal portions. "Mom said invisible people were the most dangerous to bad guys because they never see them coming." "Your mom sounds like she was amazing," Olivia said softly. "She was," Ethan and Lily said in unison, then shared a sad smile. A loud bang echoed through the container yard, a crane dropping a load, nothing more. But they all tensed, ready to run. They were being hunted by men with unlimited resources and no conscience. Every sound could be death approaching. Olivia pulled out her encrypted phone, checking something. Webb's moving money. Massive transfers to accounts in countries with no extradition treaties. "He's planning to run." "When?" "Tomorrow morning. Right after the city council meeting where they're voting on the Sterling Corporation's new development deal. A $5 billion project that would level 6 blocks of low-income housing." "Let me guess," Ethan said. "Webb's shell companies own the demolition contracts. And the construction contracts. And the insurance policies on the buildings that would accidentally burn down if the vote doesn't go his way." Olivia's hands clenched. "Those 6 blocks house 3,000 families. People like us," Lily finished. "Our building is in those 6 blocks, isn't it, Dad?" Ethan nodded slowly. Everything connected the conspiracy wasn't just about money. It was about erasing the poor to make room for the rich. And they'd been living in ground zero without knowing it. Then we stop them tonight, he said. No more running, no more hiding. We end this. He pulled out a piece of paper and began sketching the council chamber's layout from memory. Marking every entrance, every camera angle, every spot where a janitor could move unseen. Olivia, can that tablet of yours broadcast to multiple screens simultaneously? If I have the right access codes, yes. What about the emergency broadcast system? The one that takes over every television and radio in the city? She studied her screen. It's possible, but we'd need physical access to the transmission node. Those are heavily guarded. Not the backup node, Ethan said. It's in the sub-basement of City Hall, right below the council chamber. I've cleaned that room 100 times. No guards, just an electronic lock that thinks a janitor's keycard isn't worth tracking. You're planning to hijack the entire city's communications during a public meeting? I'm planning to give 3 million people the truth they deserve. But first, we need to make a trade. He looked at his daughter, pain evident in his eyes. Lily, remember Mom's car? The one we've been keeping in storage? The blue Honda she loved? Yes, baby, I think. I think Mom would want us to sell it. To get the equipment we need. Lily was quiet for a long moment, processing this loss. Sarah's car had been their last physical connection to her, still smelling faintly of her perfume. Then the 7-year-old squared her shoulders in a gesture so like her mother that Ethan's heart broke a little more. Mom would understand, Lily said. She always said things were just things, but people were everything. Olivia pulled her phone out again. The hard drive I'm carrying has evidence worth $40 million in recovered funds. When this is over, I'll make sure— No, Ethan interrupted. We're not doing this for money. We're doing it because it's right. Then at least let me. The only thing you owe us is the truth getting out. That's payment enough. They left the container as afternoon shadows grew long, heading for the storage unit where Sarah's Honda waited. Ethan ran his hand along its hood one last time, remembering the day they'd bought it, Sarah 8 months pregnant with Lily, laughing about needing a car seat more than a sports car. He sold it to a used car dealer for cash, far less than it was worth but enough for what they needed. With the money, they bought a satellite uplink kit from an electronics store that didn't ask questions, along with signal boosters and cables that would let them tap directly into the city's emergency systems. As night fell, they stood on a hill overlooking the city, lights beginning to twinkle like stars that had fallen to earth. The council building glowed brightest of all, preparing for the meeting that would decide thousands of fates. Are you scared? Olivia asked Lily. Yes, the child answered honestly. But Mom said being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means being scared and doing the right thing anyway. Ethan knelt beside his daughter, pulling her into a hug that said everything words couldn't. Then he stood, shouldering the equipment bag. Ladies, we have a conspiracy to expose. They walked toward the lights, 3 people against an empire, armed with nothing but truth, and the kind of courage that comes from having nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. The sub-basement of City Hall smelled of mold and forgotten ambitions. Ethan led them through maintenance tunnels he'd mapped during 3 years of night shifts, his janitor's keycard opening doors that million-dollar security systems ignored. The emergency broadcast node sat in a room marked Authorized Personnel Only, its servers humming with the power to reach every screen and speaker in the city. Olivia worked with focused intensity, her fingers flying across the tablet's screen as she prepared the data bomb that would expose Webb's empire of lies. Financial records, emails, recorded conversations, $40 million worth of crime compressed into a presentation that would play on every device in the city. 10 minutes, until the council meeting starts, Ethan said, watching the security feed on a monitor. The chamber above was filling with citizens, mostly poor families from the threatened neighborhoods, come to plead for their homes. Webb sat in the front row, his gray suit impeccable, his expression confident. He believed he'd already won. I'm in, Olivia breathed. But the moment I trigger this, they'll know exactly where we are. Then we'll need a distraction. Ethan pulled out his phone, a burner he'd bought with the car money. He dialed a number from memory. Torres, that favor you owe me? I need it now. 5 minutes later, the fire alarm went off in the east wing of City Hall. Not a drill, but real smoke pouring from a trash can fire that would take exactly long enough to investigate. Security guards ran toward the alarm, leaving their posts. Now or never, Ethan said. But Olivia had frozen, staring at the monitor showing the council chamber. A new figure had entered, CEO Richard Sterling himself, her father, taking a seat beside Webb. The 2 men shook hands like old friends. He's part of it, she whispered, devastated. My own father. You don't know that, Ethan said gently. Sometimes things aren't what they seem. I can't do this. Not to him. Then don't do it to him, Lily said, stepping forward. Do it for those 3,000 families about to lose their homes. Do it for the 37 people who died. Do it for their children who won't ever see their parents again. Olivia looked at this remarkable 7-year-old, then at Ethan, who nodded once. She pressed enter. Every screen in the council chamber flickered to life. Every phone buzzed with emergency alerts. Every television in every home across the city switched to the same broadcast. Olivia Sterling's face, haggard but determined, speaking truth to power. My name is Olivia Sterling, and I'm not missing or mentally ill. I'm in hiding because I discovered that Marcus Webb, COO of Sterling Corporation, has been stealing from the charitable foundation I oversee. But that's just the beginning. The evidence played out in damning detail. Wire transfers, building inspection reports, names of bribed officials. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Webb jumped to his feet, shouting for security, for someone to cut the feed. But Ethan had rerouted everything through backup generators and the satellite uplink. The truth couldn't be stopped. That's when the assassins arrived. They came through the main basement entrance, military precision replacing the earlier chaos. Ethan grabbed Lily and Olivia, pulling them deeper into the mechanical maze of the building's guts. Behind them, boots thundered on concrete. They reached a junction where 3 tunnels met. Ethan pushed Lily and Olivia down one path. The loading dock is that way. Get out. Get to the police. What about you? Olivia demanded. Someone needs to make sure the broadcast keeps running. He held up his janitor's keys. These open every door in this building, including the ones they'll use to try to stop us. Dad, no. Lily grabbed his hand. Remember what Mom said, baby, we choose our family by who we protect. I'm choosing both of you, now go. He ran down a different tunnel, making as much noise as possible, drawing the hunters away. Behind him, he heard Olivia and Lily's footsteps fading in the opposite direction. Good. They'd make it. The hunters cornered him in the boiler room, 5 guns pointed at his chest. The lead assassin smiled coldly, just a janitor playing hero. Was it worth dying for? Every life is worth dying for, Ethan said. That's the difference between us. The assassin's finger tightened on the trigger. Then the lights went out. In the darkness, a new voice spoke, older, commanding, familiar from 1,000 news broadcasts. Stand down. All units stand down immediately. The emergency lights flickered on, revealing CEO Richard Sterling standing in the doorway, flanked by federal agents in FBI windbreakers. The assassins lowered their weapons, confused. Arrest them, Sterling commanded. The federal agents moved in, efficiently disarming and cuffing the killers. Ethan stared, trying to understand. Sterling approached him, his expression grim but not unkind. Mr. Carter, I owe you an explanation. And an apology. They sat in Sterling's office as dawn broke over the harbor, the city waking to a new reality. Olivia and Lily were there too. Lily curled in her father's lap. Olivia staring at her father with a mixture of hope and suspicion. I've known about Webb for 6 months, Richard Sterling began. The FBI approached me when they detected suspicious transfers. We've been building a case, but we needed proof of the murders, the bribes, the full network. You used me as bait, Olivia accused. No. I tried to keep you out of it. When you disappeared with the evidence, Webb panicked. His actions, these past 3 days, gave us everything we needed: recorded conversations, money trails, the assassins he hired. We've been monitoring everything. People could have died. We almost died. I know, and I'll never forgive myself for that. But the corruption went so deep, involved so many officials, that we needed Webb to expose his entire network. Sterling turned to Ethan. I didn't expect a hero to emerge. Certainly not a janitor with the courage to protect my daughter when her own father failed to. I'm not a hero, Ethan said quietly. I'm just a dad who did what any parent would do. No, Sterling disagreed. Most people would have run. You stood. He pulled out a tablet, showing security footage from the past 3 days. Ethan saving Olivia in the garage, protecting her across the city, sacrificing everything to expose the truth. Webb was arrested an hour ago, Sterling continued, along with 6 city council members and a dozen other conspirators. The development deal is dead. Those 3,000 families will keep their homes. What about the stolen money? Lily asked, being recovered as we speak. It will go back to the foundation, to be used as intended, helping people who need it most. Sterling looked at Ethan. I want to offer you a reward. A job. Anything. Ethan was quiet for a moment, thinking. I don't want a reward, but there are things that need doing. Name them. A scholarship fund for Lily and kids like her children who've lost parents but haven't lost hope. Safe houses for women, escaping dangerous situations. And, he paused, looking at Olivia, someone to run that foundation who actually cares about the people it serves. Olivia met his eyes. I know someone who might be interested. Then it's settled. Sterling stood, extending his hand to Ethan. Thank you for saving my daughter. For saving all of us, really, from becoming the monsters we were fighting. Ethan shook his hand, then looked out the window at the city waking below. The storm had passed, leaving the air clean and sharp. We should go, Lily. You have school. Actually, Olivia said, there's something I need to give you first. She pulled something from her pocket, a key, ordinary brass, nothing special about it except the address on the tag. This is to a small apartment near Lily's school, nothing fancy, but it's in a building Webb didn't own, with a landlord who believes in charging fair rent. I've paid the first year. We can't accept. You're not accepting, you're choosing. She knelt to Lily's level. Your mom said we choose our family by who we protect. But I think we also choose it by who we let protect us. You both protected me when I had nothing left to offer. Let me return the favor. Lily looked at her father, who saw Sarah's wisdom in his daughter's eyes. Mom would say that pride is a lonely companion. Then we accept, Ethan said. But I stay a janitor. It's honest work, and someone needs to keep watching the shadows where the powerful think they're safe. A janitor with a very special keycard, Sterling added. One that opens every door in my building, including the executive floors. My personal insurance that this never happens again. As they prepared to leave, Olivia caught Ethan's arm. I'm leaving for a while. The foundation has projects overseas, villages that need clean water, schools that need building, real help for real people. But I'll be back. We'll be here, Ethan promised. She hugged Lily tight, whispering something that made the child smile. Then she was gone, leaving behind only the lingering scent of hope and the key to a new beginning. 2 weeks later, Ethan stood with Lily on the harbor's edge, watching the sun paint the water gold. Their new apartment was small but clean, with windows that actually opened and neighbors who smiled in the hallways. Lily's school had started a new program for gifted students, funded by an anonymous donor whose initials might have been O.S. Do you think we'll see her again? Lily asked. I think people who choose to be family always find their way back to each other. Like Mom finds ways to still be with us? His janitor's uniform was clean and pressed, ready for the night shift. But now it meant something different. He wasn't invisible anymore, he was a guardian, watching from the shadows, keeping the building clean in more ways than one. A news report played on someone's phone nearby, talking about the ongoing investigation, the reforms being implemented, the $40 million now building homeless shelters and funding free clinics. The reporter called it a victory for justice, but Ethan knew better. It was a victory for choosing to stand when kneeling would have been easier, for protecting strangers who become family. For believing that a janitor's key could unlock more than doors, it could unlock truth. Dad? Lily tugged his hand. I solved the puzzle. Which one, baby? The one about why some people have so much while others have nothing. She looked up at him with eyes that held her mother's wisdom and her father's courage. It's because not enough people with nothing have the courage to stand up, and not enough people with everything have the courage to stand down. But when they do, when someone like you and someone like Olivia work together, things change. Ethan lifted his daughter onto his shoulders, feeling the weight of her small body and the lightness of her enormous spirit. You know what, Lily? I think you're absolutely right. As they walked home, the city lights began to twinkle on, each one a life, a story, a possibility. Somewhere out there, Olivia Sterling was building wells in villages that had never known clean water. Somewhere, Marcus Webb was learning that prison cells don't care about expensive suits. And here, in a small apartment overlooking the harbor, a janitor and his daughter were proving that heroes don't always wear capes or carry shields. Sometimes they carry mops and keycards. And the unshakable belief that every person deserves to be seen, to be heard, to be protected. The city had learned who Olivia Sterling really was, not just a CEO's daughter, but a woman willing to lose everything for truth. But more importantly, they'd learned who Ethan Carter was, not just a janitor, but a guardian of the invisible, a protector of the powerless, a father teaching his daughter that courage isn't about the size of your bank account but the size of your heart. The story would be told in boardrooms and bus stops, in schools and shelters, wherever people gathered to remind themselves that ordinary citizens could do extraordinary things. And every time someone saw a janitor in the hallways of power, they'd remember that sometimes the person with the smallest key holds the power to unlock the biggest changes. 3 months later, a postcard arrived at their apartment. No return address, just a photo of a well being dug in a drought-stricken village, children laughing as clean water flowed for the first time. On the back, in elegant handwriting, teaching them what you taught me, we choose our family, by who we protect. Give Lily my love, I'll be home for her birthday. Oh, Ethan tucked the postcard into his wallet, next to the photo of Sarah and the key Olivia had given them. 3 talismans of love, loss, and the choice to keep fighting even when the powerful seemed invincible. He looked at Lily doing homework at their small table, her face scrunched in concentration, and felt Sarah's presence in the room not as a ghost, but as a legacy of courage passed from mother to daughter to the stranger who'd become family. His phone buzzed. Torres, from the docks. Heard about another building with inspection problems. Thought you might want to know. Ethan smiled grimly. The work wasn't done. It never would be. But that was okay. Someone had to watch the shadows, clean up the messes, protect the people everyone else forgot. He had the keys, the knowledge, and most importantly, the courage to use both. Lily, I've got to run out for a bit, Mrs. Chen will. I know, Dad. She looked up from her homework, grinning. Go save the world. I'll be here when you get back. He kissed her forehead, grabbed his janitor's uniform, and headed out into the night. The city sprawled before him, full of secrets and shadows, corruption and hope. Somewhere in those gleaming towers, powerful men were making plans that would hurt the powerless. But now they knew they weren't invisible. Now they knew someone was watching, someone with a janitor's key and a hero's heart. The truth had set them free, but freedom required vigilance. And Ethan Carter, single father, janitor, unlikely hero, would keep watch as long as the city needed him. Because that's what family does, they protect each other, even when the other doesn't know they need protecting. Especially then. Share this story if you believe in the power of ordinary people to create extraordinary change. Subscribe to hear more tales of courage, sacrifice, and the unbreakable bonds that form when strangers choose to become family. Together, we can remind the world that heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they wear janitor's uniforms and carry keys that unlock more than just doors. They unlock hope, justice, and the truth that every life has value, every voice deserves to be heard, and every person has the power to stand up for what's right.